Alright guys, let's talk about NMAT 2015. Today was the day one, since GMAC is setting up the paper this year, and I'm here to give you an overview what happened exactly on day one. So NMAT had three sections as usual. One is verbal ability, and next one is quantitative ability, and the last one is logical reasoning. Now verbal, the number of questions are the same, 32 in verbal. Quant we had 48 questions, and LR we had 40 questions. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to talk about the overview of the paper today. Alongside, I'll give you a strategy to attempt. I'm sure we've discussed the strategy a lot of time in class, but still one more time just to recap for the ones who did not attend those sessions of mine. So talking about verbal ability. Now verbal ability is gonna be all about RCs. Okay, like even on day one there were 4 RCs asked in verbal ability. It's gonna be a grammar. It's gonna be of grammar. Like you can expect questions and fill in the blanks and prepositions and articles and things like that. The grammar, you can expect questions and prepositions and fill in the blanks. You also have words which are very important when it comes to NMAT. You can expect 7 to 8 words of high frequency GRE words, kind of words. Alright, so you may get your hands on these. Okay, now talking about how do you attempt this, and you also have sometimes you may expect questions on sentence correction and other things. Okay, so total of 32 questions. The ideal attempt here should be around 20 questions, not more than that. Things should be fine. 20 questions. How do you attempt this? You may choose to attempt 2 RCs, but before that you must focus on these things, because these things will solve questions for you much faster, and you can have a higher accuracy here over having an accuracy in RC. Talking about the next section, logical reasoning. Now logical reasoning will come for 40 marks. It can have questions on anything. Just giving you an overview. You can have syllogisms. Okay, you have had earlier as well and today as well input output. You had question based on matrix, which is very important when it comes to NM. You'll have at least 2 to 3 questions on matrix. You will have questions also on something like symbols and series. Alright, and expect a whole lot of caselets in this. Okay, you can have at least 2 to 3 caselets, each of them having around 3 to 4 questions. So I think that should be great. LR 40 questions. Okay, try to solve at least 25 questions in this. Okay, one more thing guys, you don't have negative marking in NMAT, but still keep your attempts, the ideal attempts, as possible. I mean, as ideal as possible. So you can attempt around 22 questions, 23 questions. Don't go for bluffing. Bluffing doesn't have a high accuracy anyway. Okay, so last year in fact a lot of our students try the same thing and they have secured admissions at NM. So talk about the last section, the main one, because it has a lot of questions. If you notice, 48 on 120 is a huge number, and secondly, you can expect difficult questions out here. So in quant, okay, you will have questions on geometry, around 2 to 3 questions for sure on geometry, especially mensuration. Make sure you go for questions on shaded areas and 3D geometry and stuff like that, 3D mensuration in specific. You also have questions on arithmetic. Talking about the break here, time and work, you can expect 2 to 3 questions. Time, speed, distance, you can expect 2 to 3 questions again. Specifically in time, speed, distance, they'll ask you a question on boats, which will be around 1 to 2 questions again. Alright, so, and you can have questions on averages. These 4 will play a vital role here. Talking about the next one, which is permutation and combination, you will expect you can have at least 2 to 3 questions. Okay, even today they had 2 to 3 questions on permutation, combination, and numbers. You'll have questions on remainders and all the basic things. Okay, remainders and other things. Alright, but more importantly in quant and DI, the attempt strategy should be, okay, you should focus on these quant chapters over focusing on something like data interpretation, because data interpretation, I mean, if you look at today's paper, there were 3 sets which had 6 questions each below it, which means 18 questions on DI, and they were very time consuming. So keep in mind, keep attempt of data interpretation towards the end of the paper, or towards the end of this section in particular. Alright, so here the ideal attempt should be around 30. Okay, now this gives you around sum total of 30 and 25, 65 and 20 is around 85. Assuming your accuracy is somewhere around 90%, okay, you can easily score somewhere around 72 to 73 questions, I mean correct, and you multiply that by 3, you get a 216 or a 219, which is nothing but 5 to 10 marks more than the cutoff usually, because usually the cutoff will be 209. For the past 2 years it's been 209. Alright, One last thing for NMAT attempt, they'll give you a permutation of 3 sections, A, B, C, A, C, B, and so on. You'll have 6 attempt permutations possible here. Okay, so what you can do here is you can start with the best section, like your strongest. Okay, keep the weak after that immediately and go for the average towards the end. So let's say I'm good at quant, so quant would be my first one, the weak section, let's say verbal is the second one, and the last one is LR and the other things. Alright, so this is how NMAT should work, and this is how we'll also give you overviews on the days to come further and what kind of questions will be asked in the paper. Stay tuned and have a nice time preparing for NMAT. Thank you very much.